top line revenue, that's safe cocktail talk, right? It sounds impressive and we don't have to reveal anything. We're not revealing too much. When I say our company did $5 million last year, nobody blinks. Nobody thinks about that. That's normal cocktail talk. And that's a good measuring stick. But when I say I took home $380,000 in profit last year, the room suddenly goes quiet. Now I'm just using these as round figures, just for the sake of argument. But when you talk about what you took home, what your actual profit is, then things look different. Profit, that forces people to start doing math. That's what you pay yourself. Welcome to All Can, No Can't, the podcast where we toss out excuses, face our fears, and reclaim control. I'm Jeff Luther, your guide to mastering the chaos and turning obstacles into opportunities. Whether you're an entrepreneur navigating the ups and the downs of building a successful business, or someone ready to rewrite the rules of your life, this is your space to grow, to push boundaries, and to embrace doing the hard shit that leads to greatness. Together we'll explore stories of resilience, strategies for overcoming, and the mindset shifts that let you build a life on your terms. I use my experience with a life-altering diagnosis to help you find the can in every can't. So buckle up, because it's time to stop living in can't and start thriving in all can. You choose. Welcome back to All Can, No Can't. I'm your host, Jeff Luther, and this is the show where we turn the obstacle into the opportunity. And I'm doing a solo episode today. Today's episode is going to be almost like a rant, and I feel bad saying that, like a whiny rant. But it's not an angry rant. It's more like the kind of rant that you have when maybe you've earned the right to say something. Maybe you've earned the right to say it through a lived experience where you lived and learned from it. I want to talk about one of the most overused words in business right now. In my circle, like the entrepreneurial circle, business is really, that's all I talk about. Mostly founders, entrepreneurs, owners. I'm the current president of the Entrepreneurs Organization, the chapter in Charleston. So I'm around a lot of owners. I hear a lot of talk about business. And the one word, I know you're now all totally on the edge of your seat, but the word is scaling. At this point, scaling is the business equivalent of the word literally. Literally is literally the most overused word in the English language right now, especially by teens. Or narcissist. Everybody's a narcissist. Holy shit, everybody's a narcissist. But very few people agree on what this word means. Most people are really just talking about revenue. The confusion between scaling and growth. Somewhere along the way, scaling became the synonym for growth. I'm scaling my business. I'm scaling my business. What that usually means is my top line revenue is bigger this year than it was last year. And that's growth. That's not scaling, not growth. That is growth. Growth. That is not scaling. Scaling is when all parts of a business move and grow together. Really, when the systems grow before the revenue does is really scaling. But when they all move at the same time, then when the revenue grows, there's no disruption or chaos or problem or pressure. Revenue, yes, that needs to grow too to scale the business, but also operations, leadership, systems, processes, cash flow, people, culture, all of that has to grow, all in sync. If revenue grows faster than everything else, you don't have scale. What you have is pressure. And pressure always finds the weakest part of a business, I promise. Here's why we obsess over revenue. This is why the mistake is so common and so prevalent. And mistake is probably Here's why the focus on revenue is so common. Top line revenue, that's safe cocktail talk, right? It's socially acceptable. It sounds impressive and we don't have to reveal anything. We're not revealing too much. When I say our company did $5 million last year, nobody blinks. Oh, our run rate's 11 million. Nobody thinks about that. That's normal cocktail talk. And that's a good measuring stick. But when I say I took home $380,000 in profit last year, the room suddenly goes quiet. Now I'm just using these as round figures, just for the sake of argument. But when you talk about what you took home, what your actual profit is, then things look different. Profit, that forces people to start doing math. That's what you pay yourself, right? Then it becomes what you're worth. Then it becomes what they're not. Then maybe it becomes what you're not. So instead, revenue becomes the measuring stick. Revenue is what we chase. Revenue is what we want to talk about. Revenue is what we want to compare to others with. That's what we celebrate. Meanwhile, we rarely talk about the things that actually indicate scale. The jobs that we created, the families that depend on the business working well, how stable the company is without the founder holding everything together. Rarely do founders talk about, hey, my working year, I figure about 180 days per year. And I say that because I had a mentor early on that I was so lucky to have, a friend of mine that owned an inspection company in Canada, in Toronto. And I remember sitting in a meeting with him one day. It was a mastermind meeting, and you talk about a mastermind. I mean, this guy is amazing. And we were talking about things that we do to create value in our company. And as we went around the room, people were saying all these things they did, and I cut the grass at the office. No one said that specifically, but there were things in there that equated to that value. And he started his by, well. If you figure that I have about 200 working days per year, and the way that he broke that down was so impactful to me moving forward in my business. And rarely do we talk about as founders or as business owners the value. We don't celebrate, oh, I take every weekend off. Oh, my phone is off from Thursday night until Monday morning. And rarely do we look at the things that actually indicate scale. Problems don't come to me as the founder. That is scaling. But here's the mistake that I made. I'm going to put myself in this because I didn't figure this out early on in my business by any stretch. I figured it out quite recently, actually, in recent history.
As you know, I've been coaching for a little over a year now, and my coach just laid something pretty heavy on me. They've challenged me to have 50 powerful coaching conversations booked within the next 30 days. So if you're feeling stuck or overwhelmed, maybe successful but unfulfilled, or you just need to talk something through with someone that you know will listen, then I would love to have that conversation with you. This is not a tactic. There's no sales pitch. It's just one powerful conversation. This is complimentary to you. So if you want in, send me a message and I'll send you the link. I got you.
I didn't start out trying to grow wealth. I started out, and that was intentional. And I would tell people, people would say, oh, your prices are too cheap. Oh, I can't let you do that for free. Or, oh, I should pay you something for this. I would say, I'm growing a business. I'm not growing wealth. But I didn't start out trying to grow wealth. I started out trying to grow a business. And those two are not the same thing. From the very beginning, I chased revenue. And I knew that. That was intentional. More volume, the more inspections I got, the more work I got, and that was more top line growth. That was more money through the door, so to speak. I did everything I could to grow, quote, grow the business. I was growing the business. Not really. I was just creating chaos and panic and top line revenue. I would do things for free. I would cut my prices when I had to. I invested in things as trials. I would do marketing partnerships that did not work for my business. I would do marketing partnerships that had no value for me, and I knew that. But I did them anyway. My thinking was simple. If I could grab 5 to 7%, I'd fix all those problems later. But later never really came. Every time revenue increased in my company, it created new problems faster than profit could solve them. More people to manage, more mistakes, more overhead, more capacity, more complexity. Instead of scaling, I was constantly recovering. So if you think about like more people, think about me increasing revenue. I would increase revenue, and then that meant more inspections coming through the door. So more inspections, I had to find more people to do the inspections, which was great, right? I'll get the people to do the inspections. That takes that pressure off of me. But there has to be more communication. More people to do the inspections, more communication out to the inspector to get the information to them. More communication to referral sources to let them know it's not you that's doing it. Now we need to talk about the person that actually is doing it. That's more communication. More communication to the clients to let them know who the inspector was going to be, who was going to be meeting them there. More communication out to the client, out to the agent after the inspection was done, because now the inspector's done with the service and they're sending the information back to you. The inspection reports, the data, the findings, all of that has to go out. So it does create more complexity. So instead of scaling my business, I was constantly reacting in the business. And for a long time, growth really was a setback. Growth without scale breaks things. Here's the truth that nobody really wants to say out loud. More sales do not fix broken systems. You hear people say that, oh, we'll make it up in volume. That's a true thing. People actually do say that because we'll get more dollars in the door. If we have more dollars in the door, then we can pay to fix these problems. But more sales do not fix broken systems. They expose them. They expose those systems. Like if your onboarding is messy for new clients, then getting more customers is only going to make it worse. If your team is already stretched thin and you're thinking, okay, well, if we get more business, we have more cash, we can hire more people. If your team's already stretched thin, more revenue burns them out. It just accelerates that process. And if cash flow is already tight, growth accelerates that pain. That's like rocket fuel. And speaking of fuel, think about revenue as fuel. Revenue's the fuel, but scale is the engine. So the revenue goes into the engine to make it go, and the engine is actually scale itself. Then if the engine's not built for speed or not built for longevity, flooring it doesn't make you impressive. It just gets you stuck much, much faster. When you hit the accelerator, you're getting stuck quicker. What scaling actually is. And of course, as I've said in the intro here, scaling, no one agrees on what that definition actually is, but here's what it is. Real scaling means your business can grow without you working harder or longer or more desperately. It means decisions don't bottleneck at you. It means new hires don't feel like you're gambling. It means because you have a process. You already have a process in place for hiring. It means that customers get a consistent experience and not a consistently bad experience, a consistently good or even great experience. It means that problems are anticipated instead of constantly reacted to, or at least when they show up, there's a system for them. Scaling is boring compared to growth. That's for sure. Scaling is documentation, it's process, it's training. It's also when we learn to be adults and say no to opportunities that don't really fit our systems that are in place. It's not flashy, but it's sustainable. Here are some metrics that matter, things that to consider when we talk about scaling. Here's some things that I wished I would have known and I wish that we talked about more in small business. How many people did you successfully employ last year? How many families rely on your company being healthy? How many people went home less stressed because you have systems in place that actually work? Those are good scaling metrics, not just revenue. A business that grows fast while slowly exhausting its people is not scaling. It's just getting louder before it breaks. That's the thing that people don't think about when they're talking about scaling their business, when they just want to grow, when they want to grow top line revenue. I get it. Early on in a business, that's that fun, that hunger, that fire in your belly, growing that top line, getting more money through the door. So the next time you hear scaling, maybe ask a better question. Not, oh, wow, how much did you grow? Maybe a question, and even a question in your own business. What got easier for you? Now, granted, some things might actually get harder as you grow because it's not linear. You don't have this trajectory as growing or scaling that goes from 1 to 2 to 3 to 4 to 5 to 20. Sometimes it bounces down a little bit, bounces along in a flat line, and then goes up a little bit. But as you grow, most things should get easier. Some things could get harder, maybe like hiring for a very specialized position that you've never had to do before. When you see those coming, that could be harder. But if nothing got easier, you didn't scale. You just made everything heavier. And if that's where you are right now, you're not failing. Your business just outgrew its foundation. I found myself in the same place towards the mid to end of 2023. I found myself in the same exact place. My foundation had started to shrink, but I was still top heavy. So that is fixable. Believe me, that's fixable. Trust me, it is fixable. But only if we stop worshiping the top line and start building a business that can actually carry the load is that fixable. So if this episode has made you uncomfortable, then good. That's good. That usually means that you're close to something important. Not that I want you to be uncomfortable, I don't, but it does mean that you're growing your top line, so you're doing something right. If you're growing your top line, you are doing something right, but it's not sustainable if you're not growing everything else at the same time. I spent a long time chasing revenue, thinking scale would magically show up later. Actually, when I was building top line revenue, I didn't even know what the word scale was. I heard it and it made sense. Yeah, I'm scaling because we're doing more in sales this year than we did last year. But I thought it would magically show up. It didn't. It never did. What finally changed things wasn't more sales. It was building a business that could actually handle the sales. It was processes. Something as simple as setting up your service folks for a path of improvement or a path of development, having tiers. Because we hire these people, yeah, you're a technician, you're a technician, you're a technician. But when you hire them and you say, okay, you're going to start out as technician 1, then when you get to this level, you go technician 2, then technician 3. Then when you need somebody to manage a team and you have all just technicians across the board, you know which one is best, but how do you choose? Now, this is actually, we're getting off into probably even another episode, but if you have tiered technicians and you need someone to lead or manage a team, then you can pull from the top if you've had milestones that your technicians had to reach all across the way. So scaling isn't about bigger numbers. It's about a business that can carry more weight without breaking the people inside of it. That's really what it's about. So before you chase more growth, ask yourself one question. What would have to be true for this business to make life easier instead of harder? And maybe when you start to add things or you chase top line, maybe ask that, is this going to make it easier or harder? That's the work. I promise you it's worth doing. If this episode hits close to home, please follow the podcast or share it or do both. Share it with somebody who's chasing growth right now and calling it scale. Maybe they need to hear it. There's a link in the show notes if you want to keep the conversation going. Thanks for listening to All Can, No Can't. I'm your host, Jeff Luther, and I absolutely can't wait to see you next time. Thanks for listening to All Can, No Can't. If today's episode resonated with you, remember, it's not about the chaos you face. It's about how you choose to take back control. It's about finding that one small can in the can't you're given and grinding it down. Find your angle, carve your place out in the world, and get the fucking win. Do that by finding what you can do and not listening to what you can't. You choose. Be sure to subscribe, share, and leave a review. Your support helps me reach more people that are ready to embrace the all can mindset. And it lets them know there's someone that's willing to walk with them no matter how dark the path gets. You can find me on Insta at JDLuther 2.0 and allcan_no-can't. This is where I share more tips, stories, inspiration to help fuel your journey. And until next time, keep pushing boundaries, breaking limits, proving to yourself that anything is possible, even when you're told it isn't. Remember, life's not about can't. It's all can. Go prove them wrong.